Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a lovely day. For today's video I'm doing something a little bit different and a little bit closer to home. I'm doing my mental health story. I am so nervous and I'm absolutely shitting myself to go into this because I'm getting anxious just talking about it. I think because I've talked about it briefly in videos before, like literally briefly, I mentioned that I have anxiety and I mention I overthink and all of that, and I haven't dedicated a whole video to it, so I'm really nervous. But I just felt like it needed to happen because I wanted to make a video like this for so long, and I've sat down and I filmed a video, but I just wasn't happy with it because I just got too upset. And it's hard to talk about something when you're not in a good place or you're not. It's just hard to say, look, I go through with this, you know what I mean? And it's easy to kind of ignore it and stuff, and I do mention it on Instagram and stuff, and I do talk about it on Instagram, and I just said that to my friends and stuff, but I don't go into a massive amount of detail about it. But that's what I'm about to do today. So I have my notes here with me, my phone, just so I don't go off track. So I have literally a lot of notes. Oh, you can see the ring light there, but yeah, I have loads of notes, so I'm just gonna get right into the video. It would really help if you guys could subscribe. I'm almost on the way to 400 subscribers and I'm very excited. I also just want to make a disclaimer to say that my mental health story isn't horrible. It's not as horrible as other people's, and I'm not doing this for attention. I'm simply doing this to so I can't think of the word that I'm trying to remember, but anyway, my point still stands. I'm not doing this for attention. I just want to normalise and destigmatise mental health and just share my story with mental health and how I have gotten better and all of that, and just say how I was feeling and all of that. So I'm first going to go through what I have. So I have a thing called social anxiety, and the definition for this is it's an intense anxiety or fear of being judged, negatively evaluated or rejected in a social or performance situation. And this is so true. So basically, sorry, my breathing's really bad. Whenever I talk about my anxiety, my breathing gets a little bit bad. So if I were to put it in my own words, social anxiety is a fear of being judged. It's a fear of somebody thinking horribly of you. It's a fear of public speaking. It's a fear of speaking to people in general, a fear of sometimes just getting out of bed. So basically I'm just going to just give you a quick explanation of what it is to me. So basically what I find hard with social anxiety is talking to people. I find it hard to talk in class. I find it hard to walk in front of people. I worry about the way that I walk. I worry about what I'm wearing. I worry about what people are thinking when they see me, if I'm being nice. All of this comes into play, and this also happens with overthinking as well. I overthink a lot. And yeah, it's just basically a fear of being judged. Social anxiety massively is a fear of rejection as well. That's why a person who has social anxiety might find it hard to ask people out on dates, or ask people to do something for them or anything like that, because they fear that they'll be rejected. Another fear of social anxiety is a fear of, let's say if you're eating in a restaurant and you want to order your food, you physically shake and you get really nervous, and it's absolutely terrifying. You kind of stutter your words and all of that. It's just not a nice experience. And then the definition for overthinking is to think about something too much or for too long. That's absolutely true. Like, with anxiety and overthinking, in my opinion, kind of are like a couple. They're like together. They both kind of go with each other. If I have anxiety, I overthink things all the time about, let's say, like if I met somebody, how I was with them, or at school I overthink about the way somebody looks at me, or if they look at me badly I immediately think that I've done something wrong. Or if I hear people laughing, I think, oh, they're laughing at me, and it's not nice at all. But that's the way it is. Social anxiety has meant that I have been very scared of what people think about social situations that involve confrontation or being in the spotlight. So yeah, this is really true. I get so worried about what people think of me. I get worried about the spotlight being on me. For example, let's just use a school situation. If, let's say, the teacher, asks you to come up to the board and do something, or if the teacher asks you in Irish or French, asks you some oral questions, I get really nervous because it means speaking out which is something that I find hard, but also speaking in front of a class of people. Being in the spotlight for someone who has social anxiety is horrible. Literally, I just don't ever want the spotlight to be on me. Sometimes I'm quite confident, but sometimes I'm not, and I'll go more into that later. But when my anxiety was incredibly bad, I used to find being in the spotlight very, very hard. I get anxious when speaking to people and public speaking and eating in front of people or walking in front of people. So yeah, public speaking is something I rarely do. I find it so hard, like so hard, but I'm hoping that I will be able to get better at that. Eating in front of people has been something that I found difficult since a young age. I remember I started secondary school and I couldn't eat lunch in front of people. I didn't bring lunch for a long time because I was so afraid of eating in front of people. Like, I went months without bringing lunch, and I did school. So I did school from 9 until 5:30 without eating anything. Do you know what I mean? And that was awful. I just couldn't. I was physically afraid to eat in front of people. I was afraid that I'd eat wrong or that they'd judge me for the way that I ate. Walking in front of people, I'm very, very insecure about the way that I walk because I've been told that I walk in a weird way, and I'm really insecure about that, but there's not much I can do about it. I hate walking in front of people when loads of people are behind you, or I feel really uncomfortable when I'm surrounded by the people I don't know or I don't know well at parties or anything like that. So for example, on a night out, I rarely go on a night out because, well, I do sometimes because like my anxiety's gotten better, but when I was younger I never really went to discos and I didn't really go out when other people were going out because I got so afraid of just a lot of people being there, and I just got so afraid of people judging me, and it was really, really horrible. And the loud music and everything really overwhelmed me, and the amount of people and people shoving you and pushing you, and didn't like that. Anxiety makes me overthink about everything: confrontation, my own life, what people think, and rejection. Overthinking is a massive part of anxiety. Like I've said, it really it just really affects me. I overthink about everything. If I've had a conversation with somebody I'm thinking, and I think that it was awkward, or I think that I did something wrong, I immediately overthink it, and I'm like, oh wow, I shouldn't have done this, they're gonna think this, they think I'm a bad person, etc. Another thing that I really overthink about is that I'm a bad person. I think sometimes I make myself think that I'm the worst person in the world. If someone looks at me differently, or if someone doesn't smile at me when I smile at them, I immediately think that they hate me, and it's just honestly, it's constant going in my head that everyone hates me, and it's horrible. But I also do it to myself, I know that. I just overthink about being an awful person. I don't want to be a horrible person. I want to be as nice as I can, and I'm just afraid that I'm not, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go into my story of my mental health now. That was just a backstory on what it makes me feel like, but now I'm actually going to go into the way it makes me feel and what stages of my life, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to read like the notes that I have and expand on them, because yeah, I don't want it to look like I'm just reading a list, but I'm going to read them and then expand on them. In my last year of primary school, I was 12 or 13, I noticed I was becoming very shy and reserved, and I kept to myself. Before this, I was really confident and didn't care about what anyone thought of me. So yeah, in primary school, I used to be so bubbly, and literally, I didn't care. I could go up to anyone, I could talk to anyone, and I'd be absolutely fine. But for some reason, I suppose the preteen stage of life, I started to get very insecure. And with this, I just went completely... I don't know, I just went completely just to myself. I became so shy, and I don't really know why. There was a situation where I went to a class outside of school, and I kind of was embarrassed in front of everybody, and I think after that point I got extremely reserved, and I didn't go back to the class. Like I did go back because I really enjoyed it, but I stopped going because I physically would get sick before I went in. I remember something that I felt so ashamed of. I felt so ashamed of myself. So in primary school, the end of primary school, kind of 6th class, I started to get very reserved and very awkward and anxious. Another thing that went with this, that is going to go into my second point as well, I would come home from, let's say we were going to Ennis, or we were going to the cinema with the family, or we were going out to dinner, and before we were told we're going out to dinner, I would panic I get so anxious. And then when we were there and we were on the way, or when I saw a certain sign, you know, in Ennis for me it's after the primary school, and I don't know, if you're not from Ennis you're not going to know, but it was after the primary school where we get into Ennis, and I just get immediate panic attack. Because I was so afraid of not being good enough, or I was so afraid of embarrassing myself, or I was so afraid of just doing something stupid and feeling anxious. And I would come home and bawl my eyes out from every social situation that I thought was embarrassing or I thought was bad. Come and bawl my eyes out and just be like, why am I like this? Why is no one else like this? Why am I so alone? Why am I like this? And I just remember just feeling so low because I didn't know what was wrong with me. Like, I was like, why is no one else, why am I like this and everyone else is fine? Obviously I just thought I was on my own, but there's so many people who have social anxiety. Yeah, so the second point, starting secondary school was incredibly difficult for me. I didn't know anyone except for my sister and found it very hard to get used to. I wanted to be friends with everyone, but I quickly realised that isn't possible. Yeah, so starting secondary school was very difficult. Firstly, I went to primary school in a really small school. It was tiny, there was about 20 of us there, and I went from going to a primary school that was really tiny to going to a secondary school that was absolutely massive. Obviously I was 13 years old, like I was like, oh my god, this school is massive. Yeah, and yeah, I realised I was trying to be friends with everyone, but as somebody who's also very socially awkward, it was quite difficult. I wanted to make friends, I didn't want to be on my own, but I was also afraid of communicating with people. I was very self-conscious of the way I looked and my presence around people. This is something that I struggled with so much in secondary school. The outfits I wore, so I struggled with the outfits that I wore. Because I didn't have as nice clothes as everybody else. My clothes were definitely different, and I always felt like mine wasn't good enough, and I always felt uncomfortable because I wanted to look like everyone else, which is really sad, but that's the truth. Whereas now, like, I don't really give a shit, like, I wear what I want. But back then I was afraid of the way that I looked. I was afraid of not looking pretty or boys not liking me, which is so silly, but I was afraid of not looking good enough. Also, in school I found public speaking very difficult in front of the class or whenever the teacher would ask me a question. It didn't help that I was bad at school because I was afraid of sounding stupid or getting the answer wrong. So yeah, that was how I felt. I found it very difficult to speak in class. My voice would shake and I'd just panic. And if it didn't help, like if I got the answer wrong, or I just dreaded school so much because I was afraid of sounding stupid, and I was afraid of talking in front of people I didn't know very well. I was afraid of the teacher saying something or me getting anxious, or I was afraid of the unknown basically, and it was just awful. My anxiety in class was bad for years. It took me up until transition year to become confident and more myself. In class every day I would have panic attacks and completely dread school, like I just said, and there was one class in particular where I would have panic attacks every day without fail and cry to myself. Yeah, there was this one class that I had, and it didn't help that I was very, very bad at the subject. My teacher really intimidated me. This person is a really nice person, like lovely, lovely person, but I just felt really, really anxious in this person's class. And yeah, it's just because this teacher is very outgoing, and kind of when you have anxiety and somebody's outgoing, or somebody picks on you, not picks on you in class, but then picks on you to ask questions all the time, or does things in class that makes you involved, like games or opinions on stuff. I don't want to give too much away, but that made me super anxious, especially and I would cry in this class all the time. And you know, when this person, I'm trying not to use pronouns, person would ask me questions or anything like that, or check my homework, I would get panicky. And that was for 2 years. That was for 2 years. That was a long time. It was a massive class as well. It was probably the biggest class that I was in, and if you have anxiety, you know that being in a big class is very difficult because that makes you more on edge and makes you more want to keep to yourself. I hated talking in front of others and even being around others. I felt small and just wished I could disappear. So yeah, it's evident for me that first year until TY was very, very difficult for me. I found it so hard, especially I found them very difficult because I didn't know who I was. I was afraid of being different. I was afraid of people not liking me. I was bad at school. I struggled so much in school and I didn't get the help that I needed because I didn't reach out and I didn't say, look, I need help with this, I'm really struggling. I just kept it all to myself and let it bother me. In every single class, it makes me so upset now, but in every single class for third year, I felt worthless. I felt so worthless. I was anxious in every class and oh yeah, I think that I should have mentioned that, I forgot to mention that, just crossed my mind. When I was in first year, I realised that I wasn't, what these feelings were, they weren't normal. I shouldn't have been feeling them. Like, I realised that other people didn't seem to be like this, and I was what's the word, contemplating that maybe something was wrong with me. So I went on to Google, as you do, and I was googling about just like, I feel so alone, and I remember googling why am I like this and why am I so awkward, and anyway, so I came up with a definition, which was social anxiety. So I watched a video by Monica Graham, who I still follow on Instagram today. This was 6 years ago, people, this was a long time. So anyway, I still follow her today. I'm going to link her video. I'm actually going to ask her if I can do that, but I'm going to link her video in the description box of this video, because that video, oh my god, that video just spoke to me. It called me out of my body and I was like, this is me. Basically, she just talks about how social anxiety had made her feel, what it made her do, and it was just bang on, and there was everything that she said I felt. So yeah, I was just, but however, like, putting a name on having social anxiety made life so much easier for me, because up until that point I had just thought I was weird. I thought nobody else had felt this. So I actually made a video on transition year for me. So basically, if you're not familiar with what transition year is, it's a year in Irish secondary school which is optional. You can take a, well, not optional in all schools, but you can take a year out of, let's say it's after your junior cert, so after third year you can take a year out and go like travelling and do work experience and stuff like that, and or else you can go straight into fifth year. But for me, transition year was really important into making me feel like I gained all of my confidence back, and it was really, really good, and it really did wonders for my mental health. During transition year, I slowly but surely gained my confidence by doing work experience and by going on holiday to Italy for a week. I gained my confidence, and that was brilliant. So although there was a time in TY at the beginning of transition year that did scare me. I was doing work experience and I had a really, 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 really bad panic attack, and I fainted. That was really scary. After that point, I was like, shit, this is not good, because my anxiety got so bad that I needed to go to the doctor. So I didn't go to the hospital with my panic attacks or anything before that, because I didn't tell anybody. I told people who were really close to me, like my friends and stuff, but I didn't tell my family, or I didn't think of telling the doctor or anything like that, because I was scared. And to get diagnosed for social anxiety, but I did get diagnosed for anxiety, but I know I have social anxiety, so just to clarify that. So after this point, after TY, I just got so much more confident. Social anxiety didn't affect me as much anymore as it used to. It still does affect me, but not as much as it used to. I think part of this was the classes were split on like who was doing what subject, and higher and ordinary level, and my classes are smaller than other people's classes, so I was really happy with that. Hey guys, so I'm back sometime later. Basically what happened was we were actually cleaning this room, the room that I'm in right now, and obviously I couldn't film when we were cleaning up and all of that, so I stopped filming around probably 3 or 4 actually, and 6:28 now. So I'm really sorry about that, but I'm gonna keep going anyway. So basically what I was saying in my last clip was that I still get panic attacks a lot of the time, and some days are obviously better than others. Sorry, I'm just opening up my memos. Some days are better than others. Obviously that kind of is a rule of thumb. That's how it works, but you know, it's about coping, I think. Christmas, the build up to Christmas and like from September to December. That was definitely the honeymoon stage of the Leaving Cert for me. I can definitely feel that now, and that's why I was kind of wishing that the Leaving Cert, that Christmas wouldn't end, because I was afraid of what would happen when it did end. And yeah, and my anxiety and things about the Leaving Cert has been quite bad so far. I'm trying to do the best that I can, but there's been a lot of tears and just not feeling great. And then some days I'm really calm about it, and some days it engulfs me and I can't cope. So it's about, I think it's just about balance and trying to, on the good days, do as much as you can, and on the bad days, just love yourself as much as possible. That's kind of what I've learned. But I think this has been because of my Leaving Cert. I don't know for sure if it's because of my anxiety or my panic attacks, but obviously that doesn't help when I'm stressed. But I think a lot of people are feeling like this. I get anxious about tests and stuff, but I think that is normal. That's just what I said there. However, not school related, I've been bad with overthinking and just feeling sad for no reason. So yeah, this is something that's been quite recurrent, even not school related. Like even on the weekends I've been feeling a bit pooped and a bit not the best of, you know, I haven't been feeling perfect or myself. And not that I've not been feeling perfect, but I haven't been myself, and it's kind of made me feel a bit shit and unproductive at the weekends, because the week has been so overwhelming. A week of school is very overwhelming, so it can kind of mean that on the weekends you kind of have time to catch up with yourself and I suppose feel it more, if that makes sense. Yeah, so I'm just trying to work hard on everything that I've just said there. Anxiety is something that I've had since I was 14. I'm 19 now, or 13 to 14, and I'm 19 now. So I've had it like, that's like 5-6 years, and I'm doing my best to, you know, get used to it. And I've come to accept the fact that there are good days and there are bad days. There's phases where you feel great about your life, and then there's phases where you don't, and that's okay too, you know. Sorry, my sister just interrupted me. But yeah, you can go through good times, and I think, you know, sometimes I went through a phase in TY where I had no anxiety at all, literally nothing. I didn't overthink. I overthought a little bit, I did a little bit, like, you know, normal, but I wasn't anxious. I wasn't getting panic attacks, and I was so happy. And I was like, I realised then how much anxiety had drained the life out of me. Do you know, you're kind of living monotonously and just living in a blur, and you don't know what's going on. And you know, because you're feeling so intense all the time and you're anxious and you're having panic attacks all the time, you kind of get used to it and you forget what it's like to not be anxious. And that's kind of what I realised in transition year. Again, like, I definitely improved a lot. I'm improving a lot, but some days I take 6 steps forward, and then some days it could be 15 steps back. You know, it's all about learning. With regards to social anxiety, which I spoke about earlier in this video, when I was saying that it's where I feel uncomfortable talking to people, or uncomfortable going to restaurants, or talking, ordering, talking out in class. I still struggle with this a lot. Some days I'm so anxious. In school it can be really hard, because obviously, you know, we're like leaving cert stressful, we're going through a stressful time, so it's not easy to balance or to express yourself, and it can be very difficult and very confusing. I'm doing really well in terms of that I can socialise well, and yes, I'm a little bit nervous, but I push past it because I know that I need to. However, some days I can't. Some days I slur on my words when I'm talking to people. I get really anxious, I shake, I say stupid things, and I laugh, and I shake a lot. And immediately after the conversation, I'm like, why did I do that? Why did I do that? And I just overthink about all the things that I shouldn't have said, and it's really, really frustrating. Having social anxiety is the most annoying, frustrating thing. There are literally, to anyone who doesn't know what social anxiety is or can't understand it, literally, like, I could be in a full class, let's say we're doing an exam, and I really need to go to the toilet. For me to get the courage, put up my hand and ask the teacher, hey, can I go to the toilet? But then get up out of my seat in front of everybody, open the door, close the door, go to the toilet, that's fine. I can do that, kind of. And then go back in where everyone's looking. I find that so difficult, and there has been so many times I've held my pee, which is just kind of gross, and stayed and just waited, and that's so sad. yeah, so it's really difficult for people who don't have anxiety to understand what it's like, but it's just the fear of doing the tiniest things. Like, I'm gonna talk about, like, I can't go on public transport by myself because I have a massive fear of public transport. When I'm on a bus or a plane or a train, I have to have people with me. I can't go on my own because I lose my shit. I get so anxious and so nervous, and I just have a massive panic attack. Even like walking down the street on my own or going to a shop on my own sometimes can be too much. And you could say, like, Fiona, you're 19, get over yourself. Yes, I know, but I need to. Everyone's got a different timeline of things that they need to achieve, and I'm going to achieve these things, but I'm going to do it at my own level. There are things that upset me that I can't do on my own, but I've gotten so much better. I remember I have grown so much in my anxiety, and I'm really happy and thankful that I have, but I'm also not perfect. Like, I haven't started driving yet because driving really scares me, just being in control of the car, and I'm just so yeah, anxiety holds me back from an awful lot. It really does. It holds me back from going on nights out with my friends, holds me back out from even leaving the house sometimes if I'm really anxious, holds me back from wearing what I want to wear because I overthink it, and meeting new people and doing stuff that young people should be doing. I'm too afraid to, but I'm gonna work on it, and I'm just trying to do the very best that I can. Another thing I wanted to talk about on a more serious note, and I feel like I'm gonna get upset because even just thinking about it is gonna make me really upset, is suicide. I've never spoken about I've never spoken about suicide, I don't think so anyway, on my channel, as in from my own personal experience, or I've never posted it on Instagram or anything like that. It's something that I feel really nervous to do. Okay, so basically when I was in third year, I was in such a bad place that I found school so difficult, and I found my life so difficult that I said to myself, I'm not going to make it until a leaving cert. And by that I meant either I was going to drop out of school, or that I would have, I just really believed that I was going to commit suicide before 6th year because I was in such a bad place. Thankfully I did TY, because TY just changed me completely and changed my mindset. Because of that, like, because of feeling so low and so useless and worthless in third year, because I felt like I had no purpose for the world, I made myself feel like absolute shit, and I made myself think that I wasn't good enough, and that was really difficult. And because I just didn't think I was going to make it until 6th year, until either academically I was going to drop out, or I was going, yeah. And so much to TY, because I learned so much, I met such amazing people, and I've just gone up really. There has been other times that I have had suicidal thoughts. Thankfully I never took any action. Yeah, but it brings me back to a really dark place of when I felt so worthless and so useless that I just didn't belong on earth or belong to anybody, and that I was the worst person ever. I just didn't think I had any purpose in life, and that my role in life was just making everyone else's life shit, and that's what I thought. And it upsets me a lot to think about how I was, and that I thought those things, because I don't know, I didn't get any help. I talked to my friends about it, I talked to my boyfriend about it, and they were so supportive, and they were like, you know, we love you so much. And honestly, if it wasn't for them or my family, I don't know what I would have done, because I was just so low. Yeah, I feel vulnerable talking about suicide, because when you say, oh, I was suicidal, there's some people I haven't spoken to about this at all, that I kept it all in my head, and it might come as quite of a shock to people, but I want to be honest in this video, and I want to say how my mental health has affected me, and that is a massive way that it did affect me. So I recently had a class with a nun who's in our school, and she was talking to us about her life basically, and she's just an incredible woman, hands down the most amazing woman I've ever met. Incredible woman. And she was just saying how she was just telling us about her life and how there's a purpose for everybody in this world, and that everybody will do something amazing, and that even though we're sitting in school right now, we're not going to see what's down the line. And I think it was so inspiring, because there are times when you feel like you're hitting a wall and you feel like, what am I doing, like, is it like, am I enough? And it can get really hard to think that you are enough, and to know what's going to happen, because you don't know what's going to happen. But the thing is, like, thing that I learned regarding life and mental health is you have to work at it. Like, to a gym, you have to put in the effort to see a change in your body. You have to do the same with your mind. And this, I think self-love is so important, and it helps so much, and that's what I'm putting my all into this year. I took a photo of myself in my underwear and my pyjamas top, and this morning, and I looked at my stomach. I've been working out quite a bit. I was like, oh my god, I actually look good. And I, like, you could look at me and think, wow, Fiona, you're being really arrogant. I usually look at myself and I'm like, oh my god, I look awful. So for me to, my first thought was, oh my god, I look good. I was like, wow. Like, I know I've been working hard, I've been putting in the effort. To see it showing is amazing. So you have to work at it. Regarding my mental health, I've seen myself do things I never thought I would do before. For example, for my sister's hen party, we did excuse me, we did some water sports and stuff, and I don't know, you may know if you know me, that I'm scared of water and I'm anxious about water, and I jumped off a cliff, like a safe cliff, like we were with professional, yeah, and I jumped off a cliff. I was terrified, and I loved it, and I was just looking at myself, and you know, you realise how far you come and how far you have to push yourself, because challenges make you stronger. So yeah, I'm a bit scared to post this because I've never really talked about my mental health in this amount of detail. So I'm a little bit nervous, but if it helps anybody, even one person, to think, okay, and get the help that they need, then that is absolutely, I'm delighted. Yeah, that's kind of all I wanted to say. This video is probably really long, I'm really sorry about that, and it's kind of a bit choppy because I kind of stopped and started because I was cleaning and all of that, and I did some homework. So yeah, I think this is it. If you want me to make another video on mental health, because I don't know how good this one is, or if it is even good, or if it was helpful, let me know, because I would love to make some more. My social medias will be linked down in the description box, and I created a new Instagram at Fiona McNamara XX, so that's become my kind of YouTube blog Instagram, if that makes sense. So if you have any questions, ask them over there. And yeah, thank you so much. And I just want to say to anyone who's struggling, you can do this. And I know, like, you probably hear it so many times, you're kind of like, oh, shut up. But seriously, like, you believe in yourself and you're halfway there. Like, do what you can. And you have to accept the fact that there will be good days and there will be bad days, but to do the very best that you can, and just, you know, work at it. I think that is key. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. Give me some feedback as well, I'd love to hear some. And if you have any more video ideas for me to film, let me know. And let me think, what else? Also subscribe, we're almost on 400 subscribers, so make sure you click the subscribe button if you want to see more, that is. And yeah, I feel actually like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. I'm like, you know, I feel actually a lot better. So thank you so much for listening to me if you got this far. Hugs and kisses, and yeah, so thank you so much, and I'll see you very soon with another video. Stay strong, you are loved, you are loved, you are loved, and love yourself. Bye.